IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast, where each week we share the journey of travelers in their own words and relive their experiences with you, our listeners.
Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories. Hope you're all well and keeping safe. On the podcast today, we have a returning guest, Ayush Kumar. A lot of you would remember Ayush from previous episodes on Bhubaneswar, Puri, Kannur more recently, and he's deservedly the guest with most appearances on the Musafir Stories. This will be his fourth appearance, and really looking forward to the place he's taking us to today as well. Little gem in the coastal belt of Karnataka. So let's hop onto the episode and find out where Ayush is taking us to today. So with that introduction, we'd love to welcome Ayush Kumar, or Soul Traveler Kumar as he's known. Hey Ayush, welcome back to the Musafir Stories.
Hey Saf, how are you? Thanks again. It's always been a pleasure recording with you, and it's a great opportunity, I believe so. Yeah.
Absolutely. The honor is all ours. And for people who are listening to Ayush for the first time, Ayush is also making his fourth appearance on the podcast. So officially, Ayush is the guest with the most number of episodes on the Musafir Stories. So really, really happy to have you back, Ayush. And like I said, very well deserved too. You've really given us some brilliant episodes, right from episodes on Odisha, covering Bhubaneswar and Puri and Puri Jagannath Temple, to our most recent episode on Kannur as well in South India. So looking forward to another delightful episode with you. The introduction I gave, though, is still very short and concise. So why don't you speak a little bit about yourself, Ayush, and what you do?
Thanks, Saif. It's my fourth episode. Of course, I feel very happy for that. So, introducing myself, I am Ayush. I stay in Bangalore, but native to Odisha. I have been in Bangalore since almost 12 years now, and I'm a solo traveler, and I like exploring culture, different religions, different food, places, and I have a typical interest gaining up in the recent days towards architecture and the culture of our ancient country. And it's always been a pleasure being a Musafir and again coming back on Musafir Stories.
Yeah, it's only fitting that we have Ayush back on the podcast again. Ayush, like I said, each episode you've given us like a really different take on your style of travel, even the places within India, be it architecture, be it religion, be it nature, right? So you've covered literally the entire spectrum. Where are you taking us to today? That also sets expectations pretty high, so no pressure. But
exactly, yeah. That's what it is. So today's episode, or today destination for today would be Udupi, most popularly known as the cultural capital of Tulnad region of Karnataka. So Udupi is a beautiful district and a beautiful temple town located in coastal Karnataka. I would specifically mention Tulnad region because of the fact that people do speak Tulu, which is one of the other lesser known Dravidian languages. Though the official language is Kannada, Tulu, being a cultural capital of Karnataka, has many other sides to it. One side, which it is situated near the Arabian Sea, the other side it is bounded, or it is basically covered by the Western Ghats, which makes it one of the unique destinations and unique places throughout Karnataka. Also known as Parshurama Kshetra, it is one of the educational capitals and educational hotspots of entire Karnataka and probably southern India as well, especially the Malabar and the Konkan region of this place or this country. So this is a small introduction to this beautiful land, Udupi. And also not to forget mentioning, it is also known as one of the Pakashala places of our country, famous for its masala dosa, to its sambar across the nation and across the globe. It has been well accepted and well known as one of the food capitals of this entire country. And it is a proud moment, I think, for the entire state of Karnataka that Udupi cuisine has been recognized as one of the most healthiest and one of the most delicious cuisines in the entire globe. That's how I would like to introduce Udupi as.
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't have said it any better. Right from nature being in the coastal part of the country to being the cultural and religious capital with the famous Sri Krishna temple, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, as well as the Udupi cuisine, right, which is world famous now. Not even, I'd say, just Karnataka and India, but it's famous across the world for being very unique, very simple, very hygienic. So yeah, lots and lots to look forward to in our conversation today. You set out the context well by defining where Udupi is and its significance. Would you also help our listeners understand a little bit in terms of, from an itinerary point of view, what makes the most sense, how long of an itinerary makes the most sense, and also what is a good time to travel there?
Udupi is a great destination if it is covered specifically during November to probably mid-February. The monsoon season, of course, is one of the most greenest and one of the most beautiful time to visit Udupi. Being bordered by the Western Ghat, it receives immense amount of rainfall, but it can make it a challenge as well to commute in different places or different destinations, different temples located in the vicinity of the town. Udupi's, I would say, itinerary would require about 2 to 3 days to cover almost the major spots which are present in Udupi. If you see it in the spiritual or in the more religious side, of course, Udupi, as I mentioned, is one side bounded by the Western Ghats and one side by the beaches of the Arabian Sea. If you are exploring the Western Ghat side, it would of course need maybe 1 or 2 days extra. So I would say for an average traveler, an average explorer, 3 days is a good time to explore Udupi and the neighboring places in the coastal Karnataka.
Okay, wonderful. Like you rightly mentioned, being in the coastal Karnataka, summers can also get pretty hot. So this time is
Exactly.
ideal, and especially after monsoons, if you go there, it's also very green as you approach this place. So that time is most suitable for travel. Now, in terms of getting there, what are the options, and what would you recommend of how one can get to Udupi?
So Udupi being an important temple town in the state of Karnataka, it is very well connected with almost all the important cities of southern India. Not only southern India, I would say Mumbai, Delhi, or to some other extent, the eastern Indian states as well. You have very good train connectivity being on the Konkan coast, which itself is a destination to be covered separately because Konkan coast is extremely beautiful during the monsoons or probably during the winter season. For coming by roadways, you have numerous buses operated by KSRTC, which is the official, like the road transport medium by state of Karnataka. You have many regular buses by private operators as well. The road connectivity is extremely scenic and very beautiful, with amazingly clean and very wide and good connectivity of roads, I would say, to almost all the destinations in Udupi. If somebody is approaching from a different state and would like to reach a little faster, Mangalore Airport or Mangaluru Airport would be the nearest for about 60 to 65 kilometers, which would be like maybe a 1 hour or 1.5 hours journey. So these are some of the easier mediums of reaching Udupi. Udupi is really very suitable for probably everyone to reach from across the country.
Okay, brilliant. And like you mentioned, it's very accessible, and getting there via train is an experience in itself. I don't know
Exactly.
if you have had that personal experience, and is that something you'd like to share, Ayush?
Of course. So my exact plan of visiting Udupi started with an itinerary or planning the train, which is train route from Bangalore, straight going towards Karwar, called as the Green Route of Karnataka. This particular train route is Bangalore-Mangalore train route, which covers the scenic Western Ghats in the Sakleshpur Sirdi Ghat sections. So this is one of the most beautiful train routes in the entire country, I would say. It has been ranked and it has been positioned as one of the most beautiful train routes in the entire country. You can now the government of India, the Indian Railways, is operating a specific type of coach as well called as the Vista Dome, which is a tourist coach, which has wide windows or very large open galleries to specifically experience the nature in its true form. So if you take a train journey from Bangalore, for example, at morning 7 o'clock, you would be reaching Mangalore at about 4:30. So Udupi would be about 6 o'clock. But the entire 10 hours duration of this particular train journey in itself is an experience for a lifetime. You would be crossing numerous gorges, tall Western Ghats, lot of mist and fog, maybe if you are lucky and if it is raining heavily, you would be actually surrounded by innumerable waterfalls across the entire route. The entire route is so scenic that most of the people after Sakleshpur railway station actually just sit down near the train, near the door of the train, and they just whistle, they just enjoy themselves with the beautiful scenic views. I think each and every person once in their life should definitely visit this particular train route called as the Green Route of Karnataka. So it's an highlight of this particular journey, and it is. I would say that it will bring smiles to your faces just being in the seat or just going to the door and standing next to the door. It's a really experience in itself.
Yeah, a great way to definitely start off on a very, I'm sure it'll be like a hectic trip as well, visiting a lot of places, but it's a great way, like one of those situations where the journey is as beautiful as the destination, could say, right? So
Correct.
certainly, if you have the opportunity, definitely do leverage that and travel to Udupi by train. I would say even getting there by bus is no less of an adventure, especially the private buses that ply this Shirdi Ghat, Charmadi Ghat are
Exactly.
notorious for how rashly they drive.
Oh my, yeah. They have been known for a rocket express. Some people call them as rocket express. If you literally are sitting in the first seat or near the driver's seat, you would be feeling you're in a roller coaster ride. But yes, of course, it's as you mentioned very correctly. It itself is an experience in itself, no doubt about it. Yes.
Yeah, so you could get to Mangalore and Udupi not just by car and by train, you could also get through in a roller coaster. So buckle up is all I can say. But yeah, now having kind of traveled and started this journey off on an excellent note, let's say if taken the train journey like you did and started off, how would you break down the itinerary? Obviously, there's a variety of different things to do, be it the cultural capital or the beaches or the food haven. How would you recommend, and where do you want to start taking us to first?
Of course, if I have to name the first place which every person definitely tries to visit Udupi would be the Sri Krishna Matha, most popularly known for its Krishna temple. The temple itself has an amazingly beautiful history, a beautiful, fascinating stories hidden in it. It is one of the first places which every traveler seeks as a blessing to start the journey in Udupi. Of course, if I have to break down the itinerary, I would break down the itinerary into specifically three parts. One would be the cultural or the temple-oriented part, which would also include some of the art forms which are very popular in the Tulnad region or coastal Karnataka side. The other would be, of course, as you mentioned, food. Food makes up a most important part if you're visiting Udupi. Most of the people keep a plan or specifically note down some of the restaurants and maybe some authentic places just to try out the cuisine, which is world famous. And the other side would be the nature, which would cover both the beaches or the coastal region as well as the Western Ghat region, which itself is an experience in itself, which makes Udupi a unique geographical location in the state of Karnataka. I think very few places in this country have beaches on one side and Western Ghats or high, tall mountains on the other side, which is also known as the rainforest. So I would like to express specific interest in these three regions as we go or move forward in this podcast today.
Okay, wonderful. So let's start off on the journey then. And like you mentioned, is the first stop for us the Udupi Sri Krishna temple?
Exactly. The Sri Krishna Udupi temple would be the first place to visit in Udupi. So the story behind this particular temple is really, really fascinating, and I think it is amazingly Krishna's blessing, I would say. So the story goes as this particular Krishna deity or this particular Krishna statue, which is positioned currently in the Udupi Sri Krishna Matha, was originally present in Dwarka. So it is told that during that particular age in the ancient Indian history, there was a great flood or a great, I would say, a kind of a natural disaster which happened, which drowned Dwarka. Many people are actually trying to do historical or archaeological survey where Dwarka is currently. So it is told that there was a particular person or a sailor who was in the Arabian Sea, and that particular day, after many years after the Dwarka got drowned or it was under the sea, so this particular sailor, when he was in the ocean, he was facing a disastrous storm on its way. He was praying to God, please save me and do something so that I can be saved, because he had many precious things in his, and most precious was his own life. So at the same time, the famous saint Madhavacharya was on the coast of Udupi or coastal Karnataka at that point of time. He saw this particular thing happening, the storm and the particular person getting stuck, and there was a boat which was amidst the stormy winds, the waves, and he prayed to the god that please save him. At the same time, the storm actually vanished. I would say, if I have to put it in the most simplest manner, the person was safe, and he actually deboarded and he came towards the coastline. At the same time, he saw Madhavacharya present there, and he fell to the feet of Madhavacharya, and he said, "Please take something from my boat, my ship, because you have saved my life." He was a great saint and a deep follower of Adi Sankaracharya as well. So Madhavacharya took the stone which was present in the boat, which is nothing but the actual stone which was having the Krishna deity, which the particular sailor had collected from Dwaraka. So when he got the stone, he basically tried to install the Sri Krishna Matha. So Madhavacharya is also the establisher, or the person who actually is known historically to be the originator or the installer of Sri Krishna Matha. He was the person who installed this deity or the murti of Krishna inside the temple at that point of time. So this covers how the Sri Krishna Matha would have been established by Madhavacharya. The second most interesting story is, and why Sri Krishna temple becomes very important in the history and present days on spiritual backgrounds and religious backgrounds for any person in this country, is the Kanakadasa story. So Kanakadasa is also known as one of the greatest poets from Karnataka. He was actually outside the temple at Sri Krishna Matha, and he was not allowed to go inside the temple. It is told that maybe because of certain religious considerations or his caste or being a low caste, the temple people didn't actually allow him to visit the temple. So he stood there in front of the temple praying to the god and seeing the god from a small crack outside the temple wall. He prayed and prayed, and seeing his bhakti or seeing his devotion, Krishna actually turned back from his original position by itself. And there was a small crack which happened in that particular wall. And from that day till today, Krishna is actually worshipped from the small window which is present in the actual Sri Krishna Matha. So this day marks the most important beginning day of Sri Krishna Udupi temple, making it one of the most iconic and I would say one of the most spiritually happening places in this country, with unique belief and truly a blessing from Krishna himself. So this is how Krishna temple is known in this country with its fascinating stories.
Yeah, certainly a very interesting story, especially even I came across the story of Kanakadasa, right, the famous poet. And I think even another version that I came across as well was obviously he was praying to Lord Krishna for his bhakti and for a chance to see him. And I think it led to an earthquake or whatever, and that's how the crack appeared. And
exactly,
like you mentioned, usually the deities are all east facing in most temples, and in this instance actually the deity of the Lord Krishna was actually turned to the west towards the direction in which Kanakadasa was outside that wall, and he could get a darshan through that little crack that you mentioned. And now it's actually been commemorated as a little window, and it's called as Kanakana Kindi, right?
Exactly.
That's very popular in the temple as well. But yeah, to your point, very, very spiritually, religiously, whatever you would say, right? Very, very significant place, and people from all over Karnataka and all over the country actually make a visit to the Sri Krishna temple. So certainly has to be one of the top places or most important places of your visit. And I'm glad that you had a chance to start off your journey by making a quick visit here. How's your experience visiting the temple, and do you want to share a little bit about that? Even the food, anadana, like they say in Karnataka, the offering that they provide at the temple, that is also very, very sought after and known for, and a lot of people visited for that. Do you want to share how that experience was, Ayush?
Yes, of course. If Udupi's name comes to our mind, the first thing which we imagine itself is the food, and it is also it's best put in Kannada. It is the Pakashale or the
Yeah.
Pakashale place of the entire country, not only the state, I would say. So yes, of course, taking the divine prasada at the temple itself is an experience. Though the prasada is very simple, it is plain anna, which is basically rice. Along with that, they give you sambar, they give you rasam, probably some kind of vegetable at once, and sweet payasam as well. But the taste, I think, the spiritual factor, the divinity, or the religious factor makes it taste very, very good. Of course, the people who prepare the food have been well acknowledged across the country and across the world. There are numerous Udupi restaurants right in Delhi, Mumbai, not even Delhi, Mumbai, I would say, even in Singapore, even in London, even in America.
Yeah.
So Udupi's cuisine has become global forefront for the country's cuisine in today's world, in today's generations. And not only to just mention the temple cuisine, Saif, the temple itself is located on a particular street which is having 8 mathas. So Udupi has in total Ashtamatha. So these Ashtamathas are the mathas which are located on the lanes surrounding the temple. So the walking on this particular lane itself is an experience in itself. You get fragrances of incense sticks all everywhere. You see diyas lit everywhere. You see people singing, doing bhakti, beautiful fragrance of prasad, temple cuisine, or any kind of cuisine being cooked at each and every corner. You'd find a lot of decorative stuff, a lot of Krishna murtis being sold, being given as an offering across the temple streets. And to mention, there is a very, very popular restaurant there called as Mitra Samaj, which is also known for its masala dosa, its Mangalore buns, goli bhaje, which are some of the unique and most delicious dishes from the Tulnad or the coastal region of Karnataka. So, of course, the food comes to be the most important aspect when you visit Udupi because, in itself, it is an experience. The simplicity in which it is cooked, the less spices, the less oil, the purity, it reflects in its cuisine, the use of coconut. It's so simple, down to earth, and I would say so grounded to our Indian roots that it actually doesn't need influence from any other cuisine or any other, I would say, any other regional influences too.
Yeah, absolutely, and also reminds me of our one of our conversations in the episode covering the Puri Jagannath Temple. I think, right? Even
Yes,
there,
exactly.
it is known for using locally available ingredients for the food, right? So very, very similar to that, and like you rightly pointed, things like the unique sambar they have or the masala dosa, all of those come out of this, and all of these, how I understand, is basically it's the people who cook in the kitchen of the Udupi Sri Krishna temple. That clan, that community actually started to spread out, right? And they started traveling to different cities. A lot of this caught up in the early 1900s, right? That's when they started migrating out to places like Mumbai or even Bangalore and even Madras at that time, right? So all of these places, and
Exactly.
they started setting up these Udupi restaurants that are very popular today. The founders of be it MPR or Woodlands, that is popular in
Yes.
it's popular in Madras, right? That's where it started first. It was previously called as, I think, Sri Krishna Vilas or something on those lines. So a lot of them have their origins from here, and like I mentioned, it's world famous today. It's not just
Of course.
Udupi or just Karnataka or just India. It's popular across the world, and even something I totally relish having, especially on Sunday mornings on the weekends. Usually my staple food is visiting one of the South Indian restaurants, especially the Udupi restaurants. Cool. Now, having spent some time obviously visiting the temple, getting the darshan, and also having a chance to eat the food at the temple, where did you or what did you have on your mind?
Yes, of course. While having the prasada, I would say at the temple, I was just spellbound with that divinity, the feeling of having sitting on the ground and people serving it by themselves. It was an experience in itself, and each and every person should definitely visit during the lunch hours to have the food or the prasada at the temple. It is for everybody, as you mentioned correctly about Puri. this temple and maybe Udupi, the similarity is Krishna, and Krishna is fond of food. So I think that itself makes it an amazing experience in itself. But I would also like to mention one of the most astonishing facts, probably the most relished dish in India or in the entire world is masala dosa, or dosa as it is known as. And its origin also dates back and is traced in Udupi itself. It's told that it is originated in Udupi. So this is one of the important things I think which comes to my mind right now about Udupi cuisine. But speaking about the non-vegetarian cuisine, being a coastal city or a coastal district, you have a lot of options for coastal cuisine or seafood, which is easily available across the towns of Mangalore, Udupi, and other places like Karkala, Kundapura on that region. So some of the important other my favorite dishes from this particular region, coastal Karnataka or Tulnad in specific, would be the neer dosa, ghee roast, or prawns. So it's just filling my mouth right now imagining those dishes. It's of course very very delicious and well recognized again. So this covers a little bit on the aspects of food, with specifically Udupi being the vegetarian cuisine extremely popular across the district and across the country now.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, having obviously spent some time at the temple, do you want to touch up on some of the cultural aspects of the town as well and the popular festivals of the region?
Yes, of course. Since Udupi, as I mentioned and started my conversation, being the cultural capital of Karnataka and India, there are many unique cultural festivals and cultural significances present only in the coastal regions of Karnataka. The most famous ones being Bhutakola, Yakshagana, and Kambala, which probably you can see during post-monsoons. If you go during the month of November towards mid-March or April 11, you can easily find Kambala, or to some extent you can find Bhutakola being performed at different places. So these unique experiences of art forms are limited or native to this particular district, Udupi, and other regions of Karnataka as well. For example, Dakshina Kannada district. So this itself is I would not say religious. It is an experience in itself. It's a divine power, which is beyond an explanation right now. And one of the most famous and well admired movies recently, the Kantara, picturized it in the most beautiful manner, which any person in this entire world could have perceived how Bhutakola is. So that's how, if a movie makes you feel so divine, you can imagine how it would be if you can get to see it in live in a temple or at somebody's house or somebody's place where it is conducted during the specific season. So also to mention, you can find this to be very similar to the Theyyam dance form of North Kerala, which is in Malabar region. So there are a lot of similarities if you see to the North Kerala and coastal Karnataka region, being the cultural similarities. Even the language Tulu in itself has a little bit touch of Malayalam, some touch of Kannada, so you can get the feel in cultural and I would say an artistic experience in itself. Udupi stands out to be a unique destination in this country. So I highly appreciate people to find some time or a day specifically, or get a chance to wake up the whole night and probably see Bhutakola or Yakshagana at some of the temple or some place where it is being organized. So just to mention, if somebody is looking to go for Kambala, maybe it is not easily found across in a bigger city. But if you go to places like Kolluru or Puttur or Kadiri or Mudibidre in this coastal Karnataka region in Mangalore or Udupi, nearby Udupi, you can find Kambala being organized in the rural places. To just give a reference, Kambala is a race which happens for the buffaloes, specifically done by the farming community of Tulnad region, people who speak Tulu.
Yeah, I mean, if you have seen Kantara, right, the movie,
Yes.
actually that has a depiction of the Kambala as well, and yeah, it's a harvest festival where basically people race on buffaloes and try to make it quick. They actually race through paddy fields, right? So it makes it even harder. Yeah, native to the farm. Obviously, there's been a few contentious points of view as well about this as to if animals are being mistreated and stuff like that. But at the same time, you also have to take into the picture that this is something that is also deeply tied to the traditions of the people, right? The people have been doing this for the longest time. So I think having a balanced view on these things is very important, and having some context is very important. But I'm also glad, like you mentioned, movies like Kantara have brought a lot of these more traditional art forms, you could say, right? Be it Bhutakola or Kambala, like all of these, they've brought them to the fore and also have taken them pan India and across to the world as well. So I'm glad that that's happening, and a lot of other things as well. Like you mentioned, Yakshagana, that's another art form. There's Pili Vesha, I think it's almost like a tiger dance, you could say, that's popular during
Yes.
Krishna Janmashtami, obviously because of the close connections to Lord Krishna. The festival is very popular there. So yeah, a lot of unique things. I know you mentioned like a 3-4 day type of an itinerary, but if you want to, you could easily make this focus just on culture, just on food. It's
Yes.
that type of
Yes.
place, right? It has so much to
Exactly.
offer. Yeah, and thank you so much for shedding some much needed light on these things as well.
Yes, sir.
Anything
So I would
else?
just,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, sir, I would just like to note, since we have spoken about the cultural significance and art forms, which is popular in the district or the neighboring districts or coastal Karnataka itself, of course, the temple of Sri Krishna Matha is very, very popular for its festivals, which is year round. If you go during any time, probably you can see a lot of Ratha festivals happening, Ratha Utsava. You can go during the time of Janmashtami, which is very grandly celebrated in Udupi. As I mentioned earlier, Udupi's administration generally is taken care by the Ashtamathas or the 8 mathas. So every 2 years there is a specific festival which happens, which takes place, during which the administrative activities shift, keep toggling between the different mathas which are present across the temple. So this is one thing in itself, an experience to be near the Udupi Sri Krishna Matha. Just go in the morning, have your breakfast or do the darshan, just walk across, go in the evening again and just walk across the lanes of Udupi. It is still, you would feel you are still in a laid back, real Indian society, which probably we are slowly missing out. So, yes, movies, as you mentioned, it takes things to a forefront because it helps in bringing forward and explore, letting know people about different cultural aspects which are slowly getting extinct in our nation.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm glad. I think these are becoming a little more accessible now. I would say in the past few years, until you were in a place, until you were visiting this place or you knew somebody from the place, like there was little to no knowledge about this, or most people were ignorant about this. But now, at least through movies and through access, right? Like a lot of this is becoming accessible to the broader world. Awesome. So, having covered this, and especially the cultural part and the food or the cuisine part, where next do you want to take us to, Ayush?
Yeah, of course. The nearest destination from Udupi would be Manipal. As I mentioned initially itself, Udupi has always been known as one of the educational hotspots in the entire state. People from all the neighboring districts, especially in Kerala, from Kerala, I would say Kasaragod district or Shivmoga district and other districts, do come to Udupi for their studies and higher education. The most famous university being Manipal University is one of the top rated and one of the very good university is located within Udupi district near Manipal, which is about just to 6 to 7 kilometers. So, if you are going to Manipal, in itself, it will take a day for you to cover some of the important places which are present there, being two of the important museums, I would say. The first and the most amazingly, and I would say one of the most amazing museums I have ever visited in this country is the Hastashilpa Museum. So, Hastashilpa Museum is one such unique experience in itself, which preserves different architectural models of real life sized houses from across different places of Karnataka, especially the Malnad region and the coastal Karnataka side. It houses a typical Christian house, how it would look in the in the particular Tulnad region of Karnataka, or a Muslim house, how it would look in coastal Karnataka. It also houses some of the important different models of Kamal Mahal, Deccan's Nawab house, as well as a house from Sringeri. How would it look? So it there are 17 different models, and some models or some temple. There are some houses and models which are replications of temples as well, which are unique architectural I would say, unique architectural design in temple architectures in Karnataka. Coastal Karnataka temples are having a lot of resemblance to the temples which are present in the neighboring state of Kerala. And this is the first, and I think this would cover your more than half a day if you spend everything properly. The other important place would be Manipal Museum of Anatomy and Pathology. So this particular museum in itself is told to be one of the biggest collections of anatomical or biological specimens in the entire world or in the entire country as well. You can find a lot of anatomical, pathological specimens of human bodies, many animals, specifically to mention the whale or the large-sized mammals. You can find the entire skeletal models of that, which are life-sized and real models. So this would take about some more hours for you to cover the Manipal Museum of Anatomy, which may be a point of learning for small kids and people who are into medical profession. So this is one side of Manipal, which covers the museums. The other beautiful part is to go to the endpoint. Manipal endpoint is very popular with the students who study there. So Manipal is a huge university, so you will find a lot of students from across the country, across the world coming there and doing their studies. So Manipal endpoint would give you a very beautiful sunset, maybe a sunrise as well. So this would cover almost a day or maybe three-fourths of your day to cover in Manipal. And Manipal has amazingly good restaurants, and I would say it is a very modern side of Udupi. When Udupi resembles the historical or the religious part, Manipal is the modern part of it. But yes, these are some of the experiences which are again unique to the city and the land.
Yeah, 100%. Unfortunately, on both my previous visits to the South Canada region, it has been to between Udupi and Mangalore, and they've been short visits for like weddings and stuff like that. So I've missed out on visiting this part of the town, right? Like Manipal side, and especially these museums. And like going by your explanations and also looking up some on the internet, especially the Hastashilpa Museum, right? It is definitely one of a kind. You could say it's almost like an open
Yes.
air museum. And I know we've been loosely using it as models, but in reality, a lot of these are actual houses that
Exactly.
were brought over from different parts of the state, different parts of the district, and even in some cases different parts of the country, right? And I believe it was somebody from the region, a person called as Vijayanath Shenoy, who actually went out of his way, and he basically salvaged whatever he could, because a lot of these old styled houses and artifacts, they were losing out, right, to modernity. Nobody was building them, they were just being grazed down. So he saved as much as possible, and he brought over those, and he has literally recreated those houses here in Manipal. So if somebody can, that is certainly something one should visit. And there's a variety of different architectural specimen there, right from houses in the Vijayanagara era even, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, to houses from other parts, like there was a Mudhol Mahal or palace thing. So lot of different things. So make sure you save some time to make a stop at Hastashilpa Kala Village or Heritage Village. Wonderful. So having spent some time at Manipal, what did you have on your mind next, Ayush?
Just to not miss on the point, Saif, before we move out of Udupi and focus on the neighboring parts or the neighboring cities and other places to visit, I would like to mention about one of the most important temples located right outside the Sri Krishna Udupi Matha is the Ananteshwara temple, which is told to be one of the oldest temples in this particular region, which is more than 1,000 years old. And it is also told that Madhvacharya, during his, I would say, during his prayer or during the time he was meditating there or being present, he vanished from this particular spot and he went to Vaikuntha, or he went to heaven. So this place again is one of the very unique architectural designs. You would have never seen such kind of a temple architecture anywhere in the state. It is really unique, very different architecture. So when you are exiting out or when your darshan is completed at Sri Krishna Udupi Matha, you should go to the Ananteshwara temple as well, and not to forget, just experience the divinity and the architecture which is present there. I would next like to move away, a little bit away, or visit the other places near Udupi. So, Udupi district in itself is known to be a land of temples. So, there are numerous thousands of temples. But I would just like to mention the first and the foremost one of the unique temples which is present in Udupi, about 30-35 kilometers, would be Varanga Jain Basadi. So this Jain Basadi or Jain temple is about 35 kilometers from Udupi town, which would take you about 1.5 hours to reach there. And the unique part about this temple is it's located in between a lake. So to reach the temple itself, you need to park your vehicle outside in the ground, and you need to take a boat, a small 10 minutes or 5 to 7 minutes of journey, and you reach to the banks of the or to the temple itself. You climb the stairs and you go to the temple, have the darshan, and come back. But this experience is very unique, especially if you go during early mornings or during the sunset time. It is so beautiful in the early mornings, Saif. Like, you would be surrounded by mist, fog, and Western Ghats on the background. You can actually see the Western Ghats in the background completely. It's very green, lush green, with so much of plants, trees, water everywhere. So this Jain Vasadi is one of the unique temples which is again present in Udupi. So Udupi makes itself to be a unique spot in this state, in the country. The next temple which I would like to mention you is the Katil Durga Parmeshwari temple. So this particular temple is one of the, I would say, one of the most unique temples which is present around Udupi. It has again historical and religious significance to it. The most beautiful part about this temple, Saif, is once you actually enter to the temple, you would first be crossing a bridge, or inside the temple itself you'll see like a river flowing. And when I went during the monsoon season, almost, it was full of water, so it was an experience in itself. You would need to cross the bridge, and then you're basically exploring the temple part. And I was lucky enough to see the temple, I would say the temple elephant. So I just took a darshan of the elephant as well, and I came back. So definitely not to mention is the Durga Parmeshwari temple. Then moving forward, if you are around 20-25 kilometers from Udupi, another temple I would like to mention, and nobody generally misses, is the Anegude Ganapati temple, which again is told to be a very powerful temple if you seek blessings from Ganapati. So considering some of the other religious places, these three temples forms, I would say, very important places near Udupi. Of course, if I note down some other places, which depends upon your time and depends upon your itinerary, as how long you plan for it. Another temple which you can visit is Kamalashile Cave Temple. So it has a cave. You would actually need to go down the cave, and you can see a lot of bats hanging everywhere. And you have Uddhava Murti, like a self murti, which is present there. You can take the darshan of that, and also visit the Brahmi Durga Parmeshwari temple. So why it becomes unique is here Durga is worshipped in the form of a linga, which makes it a unique temple again. So these are some of the important temples I would like to mention, Saif. And since we had started our talk and our itinerary and our journey with Madhavacharya, not to mention he was born and his birthplace is Pajaka. So people also go to this place which is near Udupi for the darshan and spend some time at Pajaka. So towards the religious aspect, towards the temple architectural aspect, I would like to cover these places near Udupi and within the district, or maybe in the neighboring places.
Yeah, for sure. There's no dearth of temples and religiously significant places, right? And a lot of people actually do like a pilgrimage type of a trail also around coastal Karnataka, because there's so many different ones, right? From started from Murdeshwar to a lot of the important temples in Udupi. There's also not too far from here, Karkala that you mentioned, that has some significant temples too, be it the Thousand Pillar Temple, or even like for Jainism, it's pretty popular, like the Bahabali or the Gomateshwara statue in Karkala. So a number of things to see. For me, what caught my eye the most was actually, I haven't been there personally, but watching a video of a visit to this Varanga Jain temple, right? It's also called as the Kere Basadi, or a temple in the middle of a lake, right? So you have to take a boat to get there, and that whole experience and journey itself was really something that one should try and experience if you have the opportunity to do that. So yeah, certainly no dearth of temples, and if you do want to plan an itinerary just around some of the spiritually and religiously significant places, That is something definitely this coastal region of Karnataka can offer. Now, having touched upon a lot of these spiritual and religiously and culturally significant places and events, do we want to take a quick detour towards the more nature-specific places, beaches primarily, and touch upon some of those, Ayush?
Of course, the other aspect of Udupi in itself is the beaches and the blue mountains of Western Ghats in the entire district. So when you are in Udupi, the first and the most easily accessible beach, which most of the people generally go, is to the Malpe beach. In itself, it's a very beautiful beach, Seth. However, it might be a little bit more crowded, being the fact that it is quite developed and it is easily accessible by anybody who is actually going towards the beach side of Udupi. To go towards a little bit more on the hidden side and a little bit more towards offbeat beach experience, I would specifically like to call out Padukere Beach and Kodibengre. Kodibengre is also known as the Delta Beach, where basically the backwaters come or they join the Arabian Sea. This is the place where you would be actually going for about a 10 kilometers route or a bus journey or your car journey or a bike journey, where on one side you can see the beach, on the other side you can see the backwaters of Udupi. So this experience, this ride in itself to reach to the beach is extremely beautiful and very scenic. You would have noticed a lot of reels, a lot of people posting about the Goa side where coconut trees line the entire road and people just keep taking selfies. So this route is even much more beautiful and so greener than that, but it has resemblance to it. So I would specifically call out for an evening sunset to be at Kodibengre Beach or Padukere Beach, whichever you think so. Padukere Beach itself is a hidden spot. Not many people do visit there. It also has a sea walk. So if you are looking to spend some isolated time there, if you're a solo traveler, or if you're somebody who seeks solacity or peace, you should just go sit there, play some music, have a good time with yourself, and go for a ride or just go for a walk across the sea walk, which is present there. It's an experience in itself. Not to forget to mention, there is Padubidri Beach, which is also flagged as the blue flag beach of India, one of the cleanest beaches in the country, which again makes it an ideal location for family or anybody looking for the cleaner aspect to visit this particular beach. So these are some of the important beaches, and if I want to mention a little bit more farther beach, I would like to mention is the Kop or the Kapu Beach, as the locals generally speak about. There is a lighthouse as well, which is open during specific hours. I'm not really recollecting the exact hours. Maybe we can check it on Google, or we can just inquire about the locals, which time it opens, and you can visit the lighthouse and spend some time at Kapu Beach itself. We should not definitely miss the geological wonder called the St. Mary's Island, which is again like a half an hour, probably 40 minutes or less than that, a boat ride from right next to Malpe Beach. You can actually take a boat, which is operated by the government, and you can go there, spend some time at this geologically important location in amidst the Arabian Sea. So the importance goes behind Saif is that when Madagascar or African subcontinent was getting isolated or getting differentiated, separated from the Indian subcontinent, this particular island was formed. So you can see a lot of lava formations, unique rock formations present at this particular island, and you can spend some time there, maybe 1 hour, 2 hours. It's really beautiful, very, very clean, and at the same time, on one side of the beaches, you can see a lot of she shells. Like the entire beach is made up of she shells. You can actually walk on she shells. When I went, it was an experience in itself, which probably very few places in India would be able to give you. So this makes up to the, I would say, to the beach or the coastal side of Udupi as well.
Yeah, for sure. And like you mentioned, the basalt rock formations, right? They're considered to be a National Geological Monument. So very, very significant from a geological perspective as well. And yeah, formation goes back to millions of years. And even from a history point of view also, it is believed that Vasco da Gama actually made a pit stop here before he actually landed in Calicut, right? Calicut is considered, or Koikod, if you consider the new name, that's considered to be the first place where he actually discovered or he landed. He is supposed to have stopped here at St. Mary's Island and installed a cross and I think the name also is derived from that connection, from what I understand. But yeah, overall, again, just adds to the whole mix also, right? Very, very different. We're talking about beaches, but again, even St. Mary's Island and Coconut Beach, I believe, or the Coconut Island, is where you find these basalt rock formations, literally like hexagonal columns. If somebody has seen the, I think they're called the, I forget the names. There's a similar formation in Ireland as well. It's similar to
Correct.
so
Yes.
yeah, a lot of like different variety of things, and if somebody has the time, you could actually spend exploring a lot more beyond just the spiritual aspect or the even within beaches. There's so many different things to see. Any other things that we did not touch upon or that come to mind from this trip to Udupi?
Of course, of course. Since we covered almost all the aspects of Udupi, right from the religious, the spiritual side, to the food, to the cuisine, and as well as some bits of the nature, we should not miss that Western Ghats also make up an important region in the Udupi district. So you have a lot of trek options to go around Udupi. Agumbe is very, very approachable, about 70 kilometers or less than that from Udupi. So if you plan your itinerary, you can check your maps accordingly. And if you're going to Varanga, it's just 35 kilometers more to go to Agumbe. Agumbe is also known to be one of the important locations for cobra. Even the Indian Cobra's research center is present in Agumbe, and Agumbe is also known as the Cherrapunji of the South, being the fact it receives one of the highest rainfalls. In the trek section, if somebody is on the trekking or adventurous side, exploring Western Ghat makes it an ideal start from Udupi. I would say the Kodachadri trek, very, very popular across India nowadays. It's an ideal start from Udupi. To mention, there are a lot of as Western Ghat receives extremely huge rainfall, you can actually explore a lot of waterfalls, but be very, very safe, because especially during the monsoon seasons, it poses specific, I would say, dangers on its path. But it's an experience in itself to visit these. I would specifically like to call out some of the beautiful waterfalls which are extremely popular and to be some extent not easy to reach though. One is the Onaki Falls, which is little hidden in the Western Ghats, and you would need to do a trek to reach there. The other one which comes to my mind right now is the Kudlu Tirtha waterfall, which is a very, very beautiful waterfall in amidst the jungles. If somebody is again looking forward to go a little bit further, they can also explore the wildlife side, which they can probably go to the Mogambika Wildlife Sanctuary or the Someshwara Wildlife Reserve. These make up to the Western Ghat region. But I would like to just call out, if you are moving a little bit more further towards Udupi, you can possibly consider covering Kundapura, you can cover Karkala, you can also go further towards Murudeshwara. Honnavara in itself is an itinerary to make up, because Honnavara is a very, very beautiful location in the coastal Karnataka episode, further towards Gokarna and again towards Karwar region. Udupi doesn't have dearth or doesn't have any, I think, limitations with respect to the experiences which one can get. It truly is a magical land, and I would say the people, especially the people of Udupi, they are extremely hospitable, very sweet, and even the Kannada they speak there, it is very, very sweet to hear for anybody. I would say the purest Kannada, and soft spoken Kannada, very beautiful to hear. People are very good, hospitable. And at the same time, I just do not want to miss on this. Since we spoke about languages, Udupi is extremely rich in its language, being Tulu one of the most important languages. Not only to mention Tulu, there are some other important languages. For example, Konkani. For example, there is a language spoken by a specific tribe called as the Koraga language, which is only spoken by about 16 or 17,000 people in this entire country. So if you see towards the language part or the literature part of Udupi as well, it is extremely diverse and very rich. You can find Marathi, Malayalam, Kannada, Tulu, Koraga. There's no dearth of anything possible in Udupi. So that's how I think Udupi sums out to be. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it reminds me, add Berry to the mix as well. That's another language of the region. And yeah, people are
Yes.
very, very enterprising. I think that's the bottom line of it as well. At the end of the day, people are very, very enterprising. And it's no surprise that be it the top educational institutions like we saw with Manipal, or people from here starting the Udupi brand of restaurants across the country, to even
Yes.
banks, right? A lot
Exactly.
of banks, especially in this region, the South Canara, North Canara region,
Correct.
Canara Bank, Syndicate Bank, Vijaya Bank, Corporation Bank, Karnataka Bank. So that's like 5 banks right there. Obviously, some of them have been merged into bigger banks now, but just this small coastal region has given and contributed in so many ways to the subcontinent, to the region. So it's definitely big shout out to the enterprising people of the region as well. But as always, Ayush, you've definitely done justice and much more to the region. Just the way you travel, just the way in which you cover the different aspects of a place, and not purely looking at it from a, oh, what can I see, or that kind of approach, right? You're looking at it through the different layers that a place can offer. So thank you so much, and I really, really appreciate you, and look forward to having you back on a 5th time and many more as you travel across the country. Thank you so much, Ayush. We really, really appreciate having you on the podcast, and look forward to following your travels. And for anybody who's interested, you can listen to the other episodes Ayush has covered on the podcast as well, and follow his Instagram handle too. It's the Soul Traveler Kumar. We'll link that in the show notes as well. Again, from the bottom of my heart, thanks, Ayush, and it was lovely to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, Seth.
That was yet another great episode on the Musafir Stories. Make sure to show us some love by sharing the podcast with your friends and family. We are on Instagram and Twitter at Musafir Stories. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM podcast app or the website. Follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.